With over 1,200 titles in the US PlayStation library, there's a seemingly endless amount of choices, and you're bound to stumble across some interesting games. Whether it be from word of mouth, or from seeing cover art of a knife and gun-toting arachnid that grabs your attention. Today, we take a look at Spider, the video game. Spider was developed by Boss Game Studios and released by BMG Interactive in early 1997. Props to Boss Game for their interesting intro cinematic. Spider is a 2.5D side-scrolling platformer where you take on the role of a cybernetic spider, armed to the fangs with missiles, flamethrowers, and apparently Rambo's knife. Going into Spider based solely off the cover and the era it was released, I expected a 3D affair, and was surprised to find it as a more traditional side-scrolling platformer. Well, side-scrolling mostly. There are sections where your spider will head in or out of the background, and a couple of levels which showcase a top-down perspective. In their February 97 issue, EGM interviewed the creative director of Spider, Seth Mendelson. He stated that they wanted to do a game that plays more like the traditional platform game, because they're fun. In full-form 3D, you can't make a game that plays that way. There are issues about jumping and judging distance. I think this is a fair analysis. Although gamers of the time were hungry for 3D games, the industry was still trying to figure out how to do platforming well in a 3D environment, with Super Mario 64 commonly seen as being the game that would set the standard going forward. What Spider adds from the standard side-scrolling platformer is, well, you're a spider, and you can climb up walls and across ceilings. While hanging from ceilings, you can even suspend from a web to scope out the environment below or grab objects placed in spots to take advantage of this mechanic. However, this mechanic isn't fully fleshed out. You will not be swinging across levels like Spider-Man. The premise of being a small spider also allows for the fun of exploring common environments, but in a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids sort of way. Upon loading up, you are immediately introduced to the game's story in the form of an FMV segment. Your character, a scientist at National University, is developing cybernetic organisms. An unnamed villain wants that technology.
I want that technology.
And his squad comes in guns blazing to take it. Apparently they are instructed to kidnap the scientist, but in the chaos that ensues you are shot while still mind-linked to your latest project, and your consciousness is transferred to a cybernetic spider. So now, shrunk to the size of a bug, you must fight to survive against other creatures created in your lab as you chase down your body and kidnappers to stop them and save yourself. So that sets the stage for Spider. Let's jump into the gameplay and see what it has to offer. The first thing you'll notice are these DNA strands which act as the game's item collectible. Collecting 100 will grant you an extra life. They are freely available throughout the game and you shouldn't have trouble stocking up on lives. And you'll need them because this game is tough. And you will die a lot. With only 2 hit points at your disposal and a host of deadly creatures, the game is not a casual affair. The slash is your basic default attack and requires you to be dangerously close to your enemy. Although you acquire more powerful weapons, they are limited use and you lose them when you die. The boomerang is the only item you acquire which has unlimited use. It's not as powerful as other weapons you acquire, but having a ranged attack you can use repeatedly makes it a go-to weapon and my personal favorite in the game. As for the other weapons, the homing missile is probably the best weapon in the game as it locks onto the target and it is great for taking on flying enemies and engaging from a safe distance. But with only 3 at your disposal, it's best to save it for troublesome foes. The poison and electro attacks are good, but because they are used up quickly, I found myself just mastering the use of the slash attack or boomerang, and saving other weapons for specific occasions that were giving me trouble. Your spider also gets mines, but I never found them useful. It's just quicker to confront these enemies head on or avoid them completely. If the enemies don't kill you, the platforming and environment will. Spider requires patience and could be categorized as NES hard. The game loves to put unexpected enemies around every turn and on that next platform that you're about to jump onto. You're not going to go into a new level and casually walk through it unscathed. There is a lot of trial and error learning the layout of the enemies and the hazards of each path you take. This is a game that requires mastery of each level and the game mechanics. Control-wise, the game handles itself fairly well. There are situations where the hit detection seems slightly off, but I think this may be a product of your character being wider than a typical platform game. But it's not perfect. This section in particular was rage-inducing. Spider features a level overworld which encompasses 6 different sectors which have around 3 or 4 different levels each, plus an unlockable bonus area. In full, over 30 levels to fully explore, with environments ranging from labs, factories, cities, museums, and a sewer. My personal favorites are the circuit board levels, which have you traversing computer components, and the dinosaur bones level in the museum. They have taken some liberties. For instance, in the museum sector you also encounter a lava-filled volcano level. I mean, hey, it's a game after all. Microchips are scattered throughout each area and each acts as a level exit. Levels offer multiple paths and most have multiple microchips to acquire. To progress in the game, you must acquire a microchip in each level and also acquire a certain amount in each sector to move on to the next. This means you will need to replay some levels and explore them further to find the location of other microchips to progress in the game. To further add to level exploration, there are 3 broken CD icons scattered in levels of each sector. Acquiring them unlocks a hidden level. These are essentially bonus levels, ranging from a fun 1970s themed environment to others that allow you the opportunity to freely gather DNA strands to boost your life count. Progressing through the game, you encounter FMV segments that help drag the story along as you head to new sectors. You will also encounter boss levels that further change up the gameplay and give the game some diversity. There are 3 in total and I found them to be a nice change of pace. The first boss requires you to dodge his incoming attack and immediately counterattack. He has another phase requiring you to jump to avoid being hit. The second boss really changes things up, starting in the perspective of looking up and avoiding fallen debris until his second phase, which requires you to avoid his attack and score a hit. Compared to the normal levels, the bosses are actually much easier after you learn their basic attack patterns, but I still found them to be quite fun and a great addition to the game. So after traversing the gauntlet of over 30 levels, 2 bosses, and acquiring the microchips needed to advance, you finally encounter the third and final boss, the ridiculous looking, googly-eyed brain boss. The objective is to avoid his laser attack and have it break the shield of these pillars. From there you dodge his physical attack near an exposed pillar and slash him down while stunned. This is a very tough fight. You must complete this task on half a dozen pillars around the boss until he is finally defeated. From there, you are treated to an in-game cutscene. As the building overloads, fire and chaos erupt in the lab where you were held and you are finally freed. Meanwhile, your neural link with the spider is broken. You scoop up your companion and flee the Microtech Corporation building as the building is exploding, narrowly avoiding your demise. You are then treated to a mission complete screen, finishing your adventure. There is also a fun credits section you can access from the menu showing the developers of the game, which I thought was a nice touch from the team. Overall, I found Spider to be a very fun and challenging game, but one that's fair, giving you ample opportunities to stockpile lives, offers unlimited continues, and allows you to save your progress to a memory card. You'll never be starting completely over. Graphically, the game is dark but conveys the environments well, and the game features a stellar soundtrack. It also offers a wide variety of levels and environments which are surprisingly non-linear for its genre. Upon its release, Spider received middling reviews, with the biggest criticism being that it was another game in the tired, side-scrolling 2.5D platform genre. EGM gave the game scores ranging from 6.5 to 8. IGN gave the game a 6 out of 10. And Next Generation gave the game 3 out of 5 stars, stating, "With its 32-bit look but 16-bit gameplay, Spider isn't exactly a giant leap for mankind." So that's a look back at Spider the video game. Only released on the original PlayStation, I think it's worth tracking down if you're into challenging platformers. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you next time.
I want that technology.